Just to acknowledge the media, the colleagues that are here, I believe at short notice, and if I may just say, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, fellow citizens, I've taken the liberty to address the press today to cover a number of areas, very briefly, but succinctly, so we can keep the nation abreast of certain important developments that need our fellow citizens to know where government stands on those issues, their government. The first issue I want to deal with is that of national unity. National unity. We have a heritage as a people, as a country, a heritage which incorporates many of us who may look different in height. Does it matter? No. In complexion, does it matter? No, it doesn't. Many of us may twist our tongues when we speak differently languages. Does it matter? Absolutely not. Because that's a gift from God. We always just find ourselves in there. I want to see a child who chooses parentage. Before they are conceived, they say, me, I want my parents to be Mr. X as my father and Madam Y as my mother. They're not conceived. Is that possible? No. So who our parents are, who or where they live is not our choice. I must also be specific. How they got to know each other, we never know because we're not there. But we are a product of love. We're a product of love, not hatred. We are made in the image of God and no one else. It's very important. Fellow citizens, I don't comment when things happen anyhow. I have quite some patience and quite some tolerance. Levels of patience and tolerance are quite high, especially a guy like me who went through a lot to stand here as a head of state. I probably went through the worst discrimination any citizen can receive from his own or her own citizens. I went through the worst. Records are there. When you experience what I've experienced, you learn to be patient. You learn to be tolerant. You also sometimes learn to ignore certain things until when it's right to speak or to say something or respond in a certain way. And I believe over years now, over months and days, putting all the things that have been going on together around this attack, insistent attack on national unity, on our heritage, on our unity in diversity, something we inherited from those that came before us. Some are gone. KK and his group are gone. Some are still alive, a very small number, freedom fighters. We have an obligation to address this issue squarely and not to scatter around, driven on the platform or the understanding that no one, and really no one, should be allowed to divide this country. It's a heritage we are proud of. 72, 73 ethnic groups. Some will like to argue that now there are 70, no, some are close, there are 30. That doesn't matter. The message is that it's a heritage. When this country was put together as a republic, others came from the north, migrated from the north. Others migrated from the south. Others from the east, west. Others moved longer distances over many years. Others short. At the time the country was pronounced as independent Zambia, it did not matter how long you traveled to sit in this geography, 752,000 square kilometers of land, 8 + 1 neighbors. It doesn't matter what agreements existed with the BSA company, Cecil Rhodes, with the Crown of England, with anyone else. It did not matter. A pronouncement was made that this board of citizens, this board of people, from now on, going forward, will be called citizens of Zambia. Full stop. And the Constitution is very clear that there's no one citizen who is superior to the other. I repeat, there's no one citizen, not even a group, that is superior to others. Where's the reference point? The Constitution. It is there. In my difficult days, when others made it clear that I was not allowed to be president of Zambia, and that they will use everything at their disposal, all the force they had at their disposal, including the military at the time, my answer was dual. 2. 1, I would say to those, go and change the Constitution. You don't want this fellow citizen to be head of state? Go and change the Constitution. It's the only justification that will allow you to talk that language, that divisive language. 2, you are not God. Therefore, you cannot say those things. And I maintain that posture. The rest is history. What has been happening in our country over years, over months, over days, is not acceptable. Divisive talk, adults meet, organized to meet, to spew hatred against fellow citizens, to sow seeds of divisions against fellow citizens. Indeed, that is weird. In a Christian country, inside the church, really? The sacred house of God, you are spewing hatred? You are proud to say that you are a violent man. You are a violent man inside the church. There's a contradiction in a Christian nation. And others are clapping. Honestly, we should say no to such things. to say these must stay there, those must stay there. What God put together, no one puts asunder. Honestly speaking, adults, grown-ups, incredible. As your chief servant, I'm here to say that behavior, that language, proudly says, me, I can hate people, I'm violent. That's disgusting. To say the least, that's disgusting. From whichever angle you want to look at it, that's disgusting. And it should have no place in our society, in our country. And none of us should clap for such behaviors. None of us. We shouldn't teach children, our children, hatred. We should teach our children love and accommodation. That's what we should teach our children. If you're a responsible parent, you teach your children love, tolerance, diversity, unity in diversity. Honestly speaking. And I urge the people of Zambia, we should not clap for such. We should not encourage lunacy. That's lunacy. If our forefathers behaved like that, would have never had independence. Some of you are young. Political parties, we were a multi-party state at independence, not a one-party state. First election, there was no absolute winner to form government. 3 parties emerged. European Party, 2 liberation parties, UNIP and ANC. 2 out of these 3 needed to come together to form government, despite their differences in policies. UNIP under KK, ANC under Nkumbula. One was socialist orientated, one was market-based. In national interest, they came together. That's great. That's how it should be. 60 years later, others are pulling away. No. We shouldn't teach our children bad manners at dinner tables, divisive and angry hearts. Cabinet met yesterday to arrest this issue and do it decisively. Cabinet met yesterday and resolved to amend all laws which flow out of the Constitution, amend all those laws that have to do with discrimination of this nature, as we have experienced in an ugly way, and bring about amendments that will stiffen penalties and make it unattractive for anyone to spew hatred against fellow citizens. I must actually say against humanity. Reflect on Rwanda genocide. Started like this, just like this. Kids thought it was normal to say, find a Tutsi, kill them. You are Hutu, find a Tutsi, kill them. Became normal. The churches got involved. The churches, the body of Christ got involved in spewing hatred and funding weapons of murder. Go to Rwanda and look at the museum there. I'm happy to sponsor all those that met to spew hatred which could lead to civil strife, not from government resources, but from my own farming resources, to send them to Rwanda for a study tour to understand that there's no price you can attribute on such behavior. So to forestall that once and for all, the laws yesterday, Cabinet passed a Cabinet memo to allow the amendment of the laws so that anyone who does that goes in for a long time, for a very long time. So it will be unattractive. Parliament opens, that law will be tabled, and it will be enacted. So we call on Parliament, and recognized members of Parliament are also seated here. I should have acknowledged you. Parliament is expected to do what is right, to pass that law or those laws. That's my message, fellow citizens. It's my duty, it's our duty to do what is right. For me, I thought colleagues would change. After a while, they've refused to change. So you have only one way. When you cannot negotiate, you have to use the law to moderate people who are excessive. So, you have had hate speech against fellow citizens, then you choose to go inside there. You are lucky that there will be mattresses for you. This government has brought mattresses and beds, but it's not the same. Next, rule of law. Rule of law. Rule of law. And as I touch on the rule of law, just to reinforce other measures, that the school curricula, we also agreed yesterday in Cabinet, I beg your pardon, that the school curricula will now take into account the importance of teaching children from an early age national unity. Our values as a country, as a nation, and that the country comes first. We take care of the country's needs, our needs will be taken care of, not the other way around. School curricula. Cabinet resolved yesterday that subjects or topics will be orchestrated around there. At least we can save the younger generation. Some of the older ones are gone, they're finished, they're polluted, their heads are polluted. But the only way to deal with them is prosecution and jail. That's it. But for the young ones who we care for most, we can breed a group of citizens that love each other, that support each other. After all, you are married to each other. I don't know why people would pretend when they're in politics away from the bedroom. You marry people from anywhere. On the copper belt in church, I gave an example that here on the copper belt, then I was on the copper belt. You have a husband, Bemba, married to a Tonga woman, and they produce 3 children. Follow this example carefully. Not 4, 3. Now, who is, of the 3 children, who is Bemba? Who is Tonga? Of the 3 children, who is neither of the 2? So one is Bemba, one is Tonga, another one, you have to cut them in the middle, to be fair, to share. Really, as you sit here, ask yourself a question. Is that how we should live? Ngoni marries a Namwanga. A Lambia, many of you don't know that we have a Lambia group in this country because we are too proud to respect others. That's a weakness. A Lambia marries a Lozi woman. What do you call those children? Let me give you my own example. Most of you are not aware. My wife is Sala, Soli, Lenje, and Lamba. 4. Soli, Sala, Lenje, Lamba. Me, I'm Ila and Tonga. So that's 6. So what are my 3 children now? What do we call them? Honestly, this is disgraceful. Other measures will be taken into account to reinforce this issue. Rule of law. We were elected as a government 2021. Amongst the measures we said publicly and campaigned was that we will restore the rule of law. We campaigned on that platform. We will restore the rule of law. We will not allow hooliganism. We would not allow thuggery of what we experienced 10 years earlier, particularly 7 years. We didn't see that under President Sata's 3 years. May he so rest in peace. One person took over to complete that 10-year term through elections. It was thuggery. It was brutality. It was bloodshed. One person who works for APSA told me, Mr. President, we couldn't wear our APSA uniform, which is red, going to the office. We would have to put it in the bag, wear something else, maybe green. And when we reach the bank, we go in the toilet and change and wear our red uniform. APSA or Zanaco, for that matter. Have we forgotten? Have we forgotten, fellow citizens, so quickly? Natulabakale, fialechtika, kunumako. Not too distant, but baby. That's what we members say. But I'm saying, have we forgotten what was happening behind us? Not far behind, just very near. That some of us couldn't use airports, couldn't go to church, couldn't go to traditional ceremonies. Ngawaya ni chiluburi. Shibakupuma. Sana. Umulopa was a normal thing. Blood was a normal thing in the markets, daily. That intercity blood was normal. Simpson building around there, it was normal. Have we forgotten, colleagues? And one of our commitments to the people of Zambia was when you put us in office, we will restore order and the rule of law. I'm here to stand, and I stand here, so to say, to reinforce that position. Again, I told you, don't misunderstand my patience to mean I'm unaware. No. That would be a grave mistake. Completely grave mistake. We are aware, we are monitoring. Those who orchestrated violence are missing something. I'm aware. Those who emulated the violent ones are also missing thuggery. I can see. I'm watching, I'm looking, as you are doing yourselves. But I'm here to say to you, that thuggery, that violence, even when old habits die hard, even when thugs mutate from one political party to another to continue their journey of violence, I'm here to tell you that that will not be allowed. That will not be tolerated. Absolutely not. If we need to reinforce the laws, we will do that. But I think for now, the laws that are there are very clear that violence is not part of us. And therefore, the police do not need my reminder. Law enforcement agencies is not there to negotiate. You are not there to negotiate whether to arrest somebody or to put them in. When they turn violent, they become thugs in public roads or in other places. You don't need the president to give you a call. You don't need the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security to give you a call to remind you to enforce the law. Let me draw the distinction. At that point, negotiations are only done in the communities about which law should be amended or reinforced. Choose your own language or expression. In Parliament, you negotiate, you reach out to other MPs, can we amend this law? But as for the police and other law enforcement, there is no negotiations. You just enforce the law. There's no negotiation. That's not your role. You want someone to negotiate, pass it to Parliament. And let the parliamentarians lobby each other. Yours is to enforce the law. If you fail to enforce the law, it will be an admittance of failure to perform your duties. Hepela. Kwamana. I know what was happening before. I know one thug who went into Central Police and beat the hell out of the policeman and was never put behind bars. No one in any political party, in any church, no matter how big that church is or small, will be allowed to enter a police station and beat policemen and get away with it. Actually, we are looking at that case now. I want that case to come back. Me, I was just saying, finish Shashu Papa number. What's the problem? So hear me out, fellow citizens. You will not hide behind a political party. You will not hide behind a church. Inside the church or outside the church. You will not hide behind a civil society membership or OSIS or anything. That will not protect you. You break the law, the police take you. No negotiations. Those guys who were doing thuggery yesterday went to bury a colleague, may so rest in peace, and from the burial site or before started harassing people, throwing obscenities at innocent road users. I'm expecting each and every one of them to be arrested. You can't claim to do that in the name of supporting HH. Ikonaman. No. You can't claim that if you get arrested, you will not vote for HH in 2026. Maybe I don't need your vote. I don't want to be a president who is produced by thugs. and turn me into a thug. Akona. No. And anyone in politics, in the church, in the civil society, in the HH home, orchestrating, planning violence, you're on your own. I repeat what I've said. If the police are failing, I'll use the army. That's my job. That's the constitutional rights that the head of state, who is the commander-in-chief, if the police fail to discharge their duties, I'll use the military to restore law and order. But the police must ensure that, and other law enforcement, we don't go that far. But I can assure you, if you claim you support a genuine supporter of HH, who has been preaching peace, you can't go in the streets and start beating people. I know we are being provoked. Let me say something here. Once one colleague went into the market and walked around, where there was peace in the markets, now members in the same market started turning on each other. Are you surprised? Why? Because he encouraged that. And if you call that democracy, democratic space, I disagree with you. I totally disagree with you. And no one is above the law. I hear people talk about immunity, immunity. Why are you talking about immunity? The immunity of the head of state is only relevant during the time they are in the presidency. The crimes they commit outside the presidency is not covered by that immunity. That's the law. So why are you talking about immunity? I don't understand. One person goes in a market, days, in fact, the same day, members of the same society and market start fighting. Next, we see pangas, we see sticks. So now, for some young people, they're saying, oh, so this bloodletting is coming back now. We must defend ourselves. And they shout on social media, and I'm listening, that this president did not allow us to revenge in 2021. That's why I'm with you, but I disagree. That's why I did not allow revenge or avenging on the 16th of August 2021. If I allowed that, this country would have been in smoke. What country would I want to rule when the country is in smoke? Am I a leader? I am not. I stand by that. And I want to ask UPND members to accept the position of this fellow, to protect every citizen. Now that we did that, we don't also expect anyone else to provoke the citizens and start engineering and recurrence of those memories, brutal memories. No. No one will be allowed to do that. No one. Police, you got my message. I repeat, all those that disturbed, harassed the public, damaged someone's property yesterday, we expect them to be arrested. Those two who are wanting to take us back to the rivers of blood, you will be arrested as well. If you scheme things that don't exist to malign people, well, you're on your own. Those who give sympathy to such people, you will just stand and look, because you have no ability to stop them from being thrown in and prosecuted. And prosecutions must be expeditious. I think the point is well made. Loud and clear. Very loud and clear. Judiciary must play their part. We all play our part. The executive will play its part. Colleagues, third issue is fight against corruption. Fight against corruption. The fight will continue. Very straight and clear. The fight against corruption shall continue. Actually, we are now more ready than before. We have amended the laws, 3 or so pieces of legislation that were standing in the way. We have created the Economic and Financial Crimes Court, dedicated prosecutions. We have also amended the practicing procedures. You already know this, I'm reminding you, the nation, that any such crimes will be prosecuted within 5 months. If you were banking that you can survive for another 20 years and there will be another government, you have missed the shot. Within 5 months, the prosecutions will be done, of course after due investigations. As I've always said, no arresting innocent people, investigate first, arrest, prosecute, court within 5 months. I can see the jitters, I can see the panic. I feel it. That's why there's this carelessness you are seeing now, threatening people. Honestly, you were threatening people when you were in government. You are outside government, you are still threatening people. Ushe, what sort of thinking is that? Even if you are a violent man, what sort of thinking is that? Now, those you threatened when they were outside government and they're in government, you believe they're standing on the same position? Honestly? That is unfortunate. Why should we threaten each other? Let's talk to each other. Let's dialogue. Let's talk to each other. But the fight against corruption continues. 2 angles. Asset recovery. There is no turning back. Asset recovery, restore the money to the owners. Children need desks, that's their money. We need medicines in hospitals. We need, Minister of Finance is here, we need to increase CDF even more. It's doing wonders. That was the money which was being stolen. Now it's available for CDF to train kids, artisanal skills, to send children to boarding schools. Those who are not able to afford, parents, so to say, to pay retirees. That's why we need to asset recover. Colleagues, the next arm is prosecution. I've heard people saying, no, asset recovery is not enough. 2 things, asset recovery and prosecutions, which will lead to acquittal or conviction. Conviction, you go in. So you lose the money you stole, so you don't buy expensive lawyers. Then you go in. You're fortunate that this government has bought mattresses because we're human beings. We're not animals. We're human beings, respecting the rights of people, even those in detention or in correctional services. That's my message. No one will use language to escape the fight against corruption. Corruption of today, tomorrow, yesterday, today, tomorrow. No one. You can't escape by saying, I'm a member of a political party. No. You can't escape by saying, because of my tribe. This smelly stuff. which we keep propagating. Yet when you fall in love with a beautiful woman, you don't ask what language they speak, you just marry. Can you see what nature does? Nature drives you to do the right things. How can you hate where you love? It's not possible. No religion will protect any corrupt. As I said about criminality, no religion will protect a criminal. If you are an Adventist like me, and you steal public resources, me, the elder, will work to put you inside. Yes. I'm the elder in the church. Me, the elder, I will work very hard to put you in and take away the money you took from the people. That goes for any church. And please, churches, don't stand for the corrupt and stroke religious emotions. No. When people steal, they don't steal for the church. They don't steal for the tribe. They steal because of their greed. Simple. So that's all. I have nothing more to say around the fight against corruption. It will continue. We are better placed now. We've also done our benchmarking. We've signed various agreements with international parties. Our job will be more effective now than before. We've done our homework in the last 2 years. That's why you are seeing more recoveries now. I'm sure you've noted the trend has changed. More recoveries. And we will push that hard. There's no room for theft, petty or large scale. And by the way, Cabinet yesterday agreed to increase the penalties for those that steal from the people. For those that pull away electric cables, for those that vandalize public assets, private assets, you go in for a longer period. We want a country where corruption, theft is not tolerated. Investments will come from fellow citizens. If you invest in a center pivot, 1 hectare center pivot, which is what we are promoting, a crank comes in the night and steals the motor. And that center pivot, 1 hectare center pivot, is owned by a widow who got support from CDF or from CEC, or indeed under the disaster, and I'm going to talk about it. And the center pivot is gone. Food security is gone. Why should we promote such people in our country? Actually, there's no line. People say there's a thin line between the corrupt and the thieves. No, it's one and the same. It's the same coin. You just flip it. Right? Fellow citizens, disaster and emergency. We declared a disaster and an emergency early on, ahead of the pack. That's what leadership is, not to wait for the pack. The drought we've never seen in memory. That's a phenomenon of God or nature. It isn't man-made. Climate change, yes, you can say it's instigated by pollution, yes, but really, which country receives rain, which doesn't receive rain, is not a decision of any particular leader or government or people. We get afflicted, and we declared this drought, which has caused food insecurity, energy insecurity, transcending into potential economic shutdown when there's no energy, as a disaster and emergency. Our focus is dual. One, to feed the people, to feed fellow citizens. No one should die of hunger. And all of us, Secretary of Cabinet, we left State House yesterday around 22, 23 hours to make sure that we secure food for all our people in the 84 districts, determined by science, by research, that is a drought. Food must move to our people. Reverse order. Where FRA buys maize from, we are taking maize back to those depots, closer to the people. Very clear agenda. And your government, ministers, cabinet, permanent secretaries, this is the time we work double shift. Procurement people, please don't sit on decisions because you are looking for something. You will be in line for trouble. We were here up to 22, 23 hours last night to make decisions to move, bring in enough maize to mop the maize from different corners within the country and elsewhere and move it. Food for work at a lower price, enhanced social cash transfer to support our people so they don't die of hunger. This is a big program. It's a national program. It's not a UPND government or alliance program. It's a national program. All of us must support it. And if we start petting, encouraging people to fight in the markets instead of focusing on the drought, what sort of leaders are we? Honestly speaking. Really? The second arm is to improve our resilience. When the drought hits us next, we should be better prepared in many ways. One, we must water harvest for irrigation, for productivity improvement. At least when we irrigate, one center people was talking about, solar energy, whatever source of energy. That's what we're working on. Colleagues in energy, we have a meeting this week, Friday, to assess the progress we're making so that we don't have an economic shutdown. As colleagues in water, again, yesterday in the cabinet meeting, we took decisions on energy, on water, to alleviate the food insecurity situation, the energy insecurity, the threat on the economic activity. Power must be available to irrigators so we can produce food even in the dry season. That's a serious problem. We need everybody's hands and brain ideas, and they are all welcome. So, if that is what is preoccupying us, why should we now be digressed by lawlessness, by sowing seeds of pangas again in the markets, reminding the youth of what it was just 2 years, 11 months ago? Human nature is that people react. Say, oh, yayamba futi ndewa manje. Uyunga tabwera yayamba ndewa hapa. And people react that way. We shouldn't do those things. Let's focus on feeding the people and working on irrigation. I'm not saying we shut down democracy. It's not what I'm saying. It's what someone who writes. That the president said, shut down democracy. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we must understand our priorities. We must understand the need to maintain the rule of law. We must understand the need to fight corruption. That's what I'm saying. My message is simple and clear. So I ask the whole government machinery, we're working with the civil society, we're working with the church, those who have capacity to distribute, we're working with them. If you know an institution you are associated with which has experienced knowledge of distribution of food to the vulnerable, Cabinet Office is there, DMMU is there, as a team, will enlist that organization. women organizations, as I said, church, civil society, international organizations. We're working with the UN system here. I think that's our responsibility. God says, I put you in charge at a particular time, not your choosing, but my choosing. That's God. And when I do that, I will not give you a load you cannot carry. You will be able to carry it. But for us to carry that load, we must be organized. We must work together. We must not throw money or allow it to be stolen, because we need every penny to now avail food and irrigation for our people. That's the message. We ask the country to support this agenda. Storage, all of those things. We shouldn't be able to have no food one season. We should now invest in storage, and we're doing that. We're budgeted for it now. It's going to happen. It may take time, but it will happen. I want to assure citizens. Lastly, rebuilding the economy. That's our agenda. In the last 2 years, 8, 9 months, you can see as citizens that this is the agenda of this government. To rebuild the run-down economy. Strangely, those who are constraining and standing in the way are the very people who damage the economy. How ironic can that be? You mess up the well, the only well where the whole country draws water from, and you walk away because you took some benefits for yourself, but the country has no water, community has no water. Some team comes along, they're cleaning the water, you climb the ante-hill. No, they failed to clean the water. Why did you mess it up in the first place? If you're a serious human being, you should have never messed up that well. The resources little we have, we should have been using to build more wells. You messed up in the well. Sometimes we must have a bit of shame. Husbands, wives, talk to your husbands when they mess up badly. Husbands, talk to your wives when they mess up badly. Quietly, render some advice. Vashivantu, apamulendera, te pasuma. Mayo, vana church, apayo. That's what decent human beings do. When you clap for such behavior, you are embodying bad behavior. You are embodying that. Really? Yes. So we have been working to clean this well so the Zambian people can have clean water, which is not polluted. This effort requires support. We inherited a big debt. Today we stand here. As we were working to clean up the debt mountain, where the debt went up, the economy went down. This doesn't work. In my little training, when the liability goes up, the asset goes up. Then the two can balance. So the asset went down, the liability went up. You don't have to be trained in this field. You will know there's a problem here. And our duty has been to dismantle the debt restructuring. And colleagues have been saying, no, it's not possible. They will never make it. Can you tell them, tell Situmbeko, HH tells Situmbeko to look at plan B and plan C, because you will never achieve debt restructuring. Do you blame them? Maybe you shouldn't. If they had the capacity, they would have never left us with that debt. 1, 2, they would have cleaned up the debt themselves. They dumped it, left it. And today I stand here to say we've made so much progress on the debt restructuring. A few days ago, the bondholders voted overwhelmingly to support the debt restructuring component to deal with the bondholders. That should be a celebration point. Yesterday, the IMF, in a program with us, our program, which we invited the IMF to support us, do 6 monthly reviews. Correct me if I'm wrong. 6 monthly reviews. They came for a review with all the challenges we have. Yesterday, they confirmed that we passed yet again that test and the program of support to us in our restructuring of our economy, our finances will continue. This is what the nation must rally around. The whole nation must rally around this, especially that honestly speaking, we're not the ones, but we take responsibility. You see how mature we are? We take responsibility. This is a rallying point. Shouldn't be a divisive point. What else? Minister of Finance. We made a call for an additional support of how much within the fund program? An extra 3. They were supposed to only release how much? 188. Because of the appeal we made following the circumstances we faced, including a drought. That's why we declared the disaster and emergency early on, proactively. They've now been able to extend almost another 400 million, almost $400 million. That was decided yesterday. Now, honestly, even if you harbor hatred of fellow citizens, is that a source of hatred? Is that where you drive hatred to them, working like that? You don't. So we will continue within the drought environment, food insecurity, energy insecurity. We will continue working hard to rebuild this economy because we know that's where the solution is. Yes, it's painful. Absolutely. And we understand. We're working on many variables, long hours, but also efficient working. When work has to be done, we have to do it. Ministers, cabinet office, permanent secretaries. That's why we are in this public office. When work calls, we have to do the work in the interest of the people of Zambia. In Livingstone, a few days ago, I said something there. It was a summit of 5 countries, 5 heads of state: Namibia, Angola, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. And I was chairing that summit of my colleague presidents and technical staff. And I said, I used the phraseology that we must change the way we work in the public sector. We shouldn't call working to mean 8 hours to 17 hours, then we say we have worked. I said no. The fact that you were in office from 8 hours to 17 hours, it's not true to imply that you have been working. Maybe you've been hanging around. That is true. That's my core. We need to work hard. We need to focus on deliverables. Work hard and focus on deliverables. Then we will help the people. We will help the children in school. Those who are faced with hunger and water shortages, by the way. We will continue working. Please, I make a call to the drillers. You cannot charge those amounts during a drought situation. I have a debt with you. You heard what I said. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. A borehole that should cost 35,000 kwacha. Colleagues in the public sector, in the procurement units, are trying to book those boreholes for 300,000 to 400,000 kwacha. When you remove you say, no, tribalism. You say, no, 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 because I don't belong to their church. That's what you like saying. A borehole for 30,000 kwacha must be 35,000 kwacha, not 200,000. That's a departure point. In the time of drought, you do those shenanigans, that's a departure point. You say he has said that before. Watch the space. My choice is now clear. 2.5 years, 2 years, 9 months. I wanted to accommodate people to get them to change. I have now seen they've refused to change. That's a departure point. What else can I do? I'm a lover of national unity. I'm a tolerant person. But when you don't want to do what you should do, and you want to hide behind ethnicity or church or civil society or anything else, that's a departure point. You will see a few exits from this hour. Don't call me names. Tell those people they should have done their work for the good of the people of Zambia. Don't look at me, look at them, give them counsel. A tender committee in a ministry insists that one ball plus accessory should be 500,000. 500,000. When you can do it, borehole plus accessories, 80,000. People want to charge 500,000, 500,000. Kiskaman. Nivuto, Banji. Zambians, learn to distinguish between a victim and an aggressor. A person who behaves like that is the aggressor. They shouldn't come to you pretending they're victims. No, they're not. My management style is that I tell you I'm coming your way. There's no hiding. I actually tell you I'm coming your way. You don't want to do the right things, I'm coming. I think that's a fairer way. I started practicing this management style from the age 27. I can't change now. But many a time, you think that, oh, he's not aware. I'm very much alive. I'm aware. But the idea is to build. If you're a true leader, you're a true manager, you try and build people. But now I know they've refused to change. So, we will continue working to build this economy. We want to now begin to see the benefits of the debt restructuring coming through. If it were not for the drought, this year we were going to harvest over probably close to 5 million tons. Zambians responded to our call. I'm told even those who work for saloons even cultivated half an acre. You know what I mean? I was proud of all of you, and thank you for answering the call. But God had a reason to allow the drought. Slapping us in the face. Irrigate, 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 be more efficient. And we're working on that. Many government programs will continue, colleagues, to reconstruct our economy, to create jobs, more than public sector jobs. We want to see the private sector creating jobs. And some of my friends in the private sector were looking for quick fixes. Actually, I realized that people's ambitions sometimes meet somewhere between the crooks and those who pretend to be genuine businessmen, because they wanted shortcuts, things given to them. We can't give you things if we don't have any. That's why we needed to restructure the debt. That's why we need to grow the economy. Just come on board. The old habits. You see what colleagues were doing? They wanted the old habits that, like violence, to go away and corruption, but they continue doing the bad things, such as what? Getting contracts to supply air. No. That's not business. That's not business. So you hear a bit of noise here and there. It's a reconstruction process. We shall be okay. Even with a drought, we shall overcome. We work together. We work harder. The meal price, issues of fuel, they're sitting right in my head every day. I pull them and look at them every day, agonizing, seek expertise, inside, outside. We're working on these issues from all fronts. As I said, if it were not for the drought, we would have got surplus maize. The issue of meal would have never been an issue. But please accept that this is beyond our control. In economics, we say that's an exogenous variable. It's outside our control. But we still work hard using the endogenous variables, those that are within our control. But we never give up. It's a temporal situation. Fellow citizens, time is now to get a bit more serious with the way we do things in this country. There's too much noise. Social media, just noise, too much noise. That noise will not solve problems. You have suggestions, bring them to the table. You want to go in the streets? No. You'll find me standing in front of you. You want to break people's properties? No. You have ideas? You are welcome. You want to irrigate an acre? You are welcome. FISIP, CDF, number 2. Number 3, civil service financing scheme. We've lowered the interest, correct me if I'm wrong, from 18% to 9%, to allow those even in the public sector to borrow money at a lower cost to produce something. Imagine if just 5 million of us out of 20 million just planted 1 hectare, just 1 hectare. Even as a family, 5 million families, just a hectare. And each one of us in a hectare produced $200. I've worked the numbers, so I'm pulling these figures. $200 multiplied by 5 million families. The answer is there. We need to work. We shouldn't spend. People start posting stuff on social media, 04. 04. And one post, a lie is posted, then is extrapolated. By 7 hours, it's taken as the truth. As you know, lies move faster, isn't it? But they have short legs. Eventually, you get caught. You skim, you get caught. I want to close by saying to you, you were gassing people. We have now decided to do a formal investigation who was gassing people, for what reason. I can confirm to you what I said in Kapiri over the launch of Lusaka-Ndola Highway, that a forensic audit is now just being defined nicely, the scope of work, a rolling audit for that matter. We look at Lusaka-Ndola Road, who paid who $30 million, which account did it come from, where did it go, who collected it, what did they use it for, since there was not even 1 meter of the road done. That audit is coming, and Zambians, I want to promise you, we will do everything to recover that money and use it to feed our people who are faced with hunger. What else are we doing? I'm confirming to you here that the tribunal on how the loans were acquired, just the principle, the decisions made. I'm going to use a constitutional right or law called the Inquiries Act, and the draft terms of reference have already been done. And I'll be approving them. And any other processes with Parliament, we are in business. And no one should come to you to cry that, no, I'm being victimized. No, my democratic space is taken. Unatenga za bene, Look, colleagues, let me just cite my example. When I was being accused of things in opposition, I stood openly and said, if any one of you know that I stole something, please go and report to the police station. I encourage citizens, even my tormentors, even those who declare that they will lock me up until I die in public. I challenged that friend. I said, why are you threatening? Just go to the police. Just report that HH stole this and that, and I'll be happy to go to the police to answer and take me to court. When I saw nobody was coming forward, I even offered a 3-bedroom house. I'm glad some of you still remember. 3-bedroom house. That house is still there. No one claimed it. It's there. And I decided to put no tenant. It's just there sitting, waiting. So why can't my colleagues do the same? If they know they stole nothing, why can't they do the same? The guilty are fellow citizens. I just want to give you encouragement that no matter the difficulties, no matter the challenges, we shall overcome. Working together, we shall overcome. One good season is what we need to produce more. I won't challenge you. More Vingoma. Most of you don't understand. Only Tumbukas, us will understand. We Tumbukas. More Chimanga. More Mbonye. More Mapokwe. One season. With irrigation, double crop, storage, we shall be okay. We're working on the fuel issue. It's vexing because of so many factors outside our control, global prices, currency issues, which we're looking at as well. We shall overcome, but we need to stand together. We shouldn't allow divisive behavior, calling out people to go in the streets, to ban buildings, to ban Simpson, to ban Zanaco, to ban Bank of Zambia. What are you going to lead after the country is put down? In 2015, we actually in the UPND believed we won that election. And my members came to me and said, let's go in the streets. I said, no. No. Let's go to court. I said, no. The next election is closer. Let's prepare. 2016, we believe we won that election. I'm saying we believe. Please, understand the language. My member said, this time we are going in the streets. Whether you like it or not, HH, I said, you are not going in the streets. When our time comes, we want to find buildings there so that we can use them to grow the economy. We petitioned, our petition was never heard. It was tense. I said, no one goes in the streets. That's who I am. You must check the records of people. Why would anyone want to go into office by inviting young people to go in the streets and beat people and kill each other? Who do you want to lead? But if you were there, why did you create a debt? We have questions for you. A lot of questions for you. So, but don't use innocent people. Those kids need education, not pangas. Those kids need skills. They need empowerment from Mr. Small Medium Ministry here. He is also small like the ministry. That's why we put him there. Small Medium Enterprise. He's a good man. This man from Shiwangandu. One Zambia, Mwanga, we win. One Zambia, Mamon. One Zambia, one nation. One Zambia, one nation. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. At this time, we will take questions, and the questions will be in 2 sets of 3 questions each, and then after that, maybe we'll use the President's discretion if we can take some more. So you come here, you state the media house from which you come, you ask your remember the rules. Please stick to the issues that His Excellency has addressed. Come and ask what has been addressed. Darius Okumva, you come. You are the first one. Darius, let me see the other hand. You, sir. And Franklin.
Ministers, you need to take notes. Some questions I'll refer to yourselves. Thank you. And Cabinet.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Darius Jonia from Diamond TV.
Yes.
Mr. President, in your realization to some of the economic objectives, you are faced with the high cost of living that has affected small, medium enterprises that need to deal with the high cost of doing business amidst high inflation rate, as well as stifling taxes and also load shedding. What are some of the incentives that your government has put across to cushion the burden on the small, medium enterprises? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Justin Kawisha from ZNBC. Your Excellency, you are very firm on the fight against corruption and also on uniting the country. Now, some of the moments, Your Excellency, when some citizens are found wanting by the law, or when they commit the law, they rush to traditional leaders and also the church to seek for support so that they are protected. How are you going to work with traditional leaders in your case to unite the country, fight corruption, and also develop this country? Thank you.
Your Excellency, good afternoon. I'm Franklin Tembo Jr. from ZNBC. In your speech, you indicate that the private sector, among other things, must continue to create jobs. In this context, the elephant in the room seems to be predictability in as far as the provision of energy is concerned. Are you worried about the inconsistency in provision of energy, and in this case, electricity, because the public can't plan, and this is certainly affecting businesses? What is the decision there for predictability? Thank you.
Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Darius. Diamond, high cost of doing business, incentives to cushion SMEs. I think I did say some of the things, and I'm happy for my colleagues, Minister of Small Medium Enterprises, to support. First and foremost, Darius, is the facilities that we are availing now. I talked about the CEC. I think you can tell me the interest in there. We have brought the interests down deliberately under the CEC. We have also the CDF facility for the SMEs, where people are doing hammer mills, they are doing chickens, they are doing all sorts of businesses, fabrication. There also the interest is, I know, there is only 5%. 5% is so far below the market price. That is part of the incentives package. Area I talked about, those in the public sector who can draw on facilities under, what's the name of the institution? Secretary of Cabinet? Public Service Microfinance Facility, Darius, where the interest rates when we came in were 18%. We have scaled them down to 9%. Those are incentives. We have also now, the Minister of Finance is here, we have taken taxes out. Help me, Minister of Finance, solar, right? Solar, irrigation equipment, a number of them. We have taken the taxes out. In fact, 0%. Deliberate. Maybe what we should do, Darius, is to announce and make these things regularly, sing about them. I think we need to sing about these things. There's a myriad of other facilities. Some are actually grants. A clear grant, you qualify under the CDF, you get a grant, and that grant allows you to inject some capital in your business. That is a number of those facilities. I will ask the minister later on, as I sit down, SME, to basically come through. Maybe you can do it now so that we don't have to go front and back. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. The SMEs, there was an advert, Mr. President, which was given by the Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission, and we told SMEs to apply for solar panels, batteries, power irrigated system, and we are now in the process of awarding up to about 500 SMEs across the country. And these loans, as the President said, the interest rate is just about 5 to about 9%. And we continue, Mr. President, as you said, the government, for sure, I want to reaffirm this. Those that are importing solar products, irrigation system, it is 0% through the Ministry of Finance. We continue, Mr. President, even now, whilst we were discussing with the JICA President, we also as a ministry, we have partnered with JICA, and we are also giving SMEs capacity building, and we are also giving them a grant from JICA focusing on the solar products so that smaller businesses would continue. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mubanga, Avena Shwangandu. Thank you. There are a couple more things. Let me flip or extend the incentives Darius a little bit. Some of the things you don't see them incentives, but they are. But what we've done now, in order to reduce the cost to the families where an SME person comes from, a family, because of the drought, because of the issues you have raised, we have created an additional social cash transfer to the families where, say, an SME person or owner comes from, so that alleviates the cost of food on them. Are we together? A lot of those colleagues are receiving at the family level, including women who run, a lot of women run businesses in our country, small businesses. So we are putting them, we put them and we continue to put them on an enhanced social cash transfer, tied to this drought, tied to these challenges that we're facing. Let me angle something else, which Zambians sometimes don't see clearly. We knew that the economy was gone. How do we know? How did we know? High debt, defaulted, the economy went down. So we knew, even before we took office, that we needed to take certain measures. Amongst those measures, Darius, was to offer free education So imagine a household which had 2, 3 children, and they were paying school fees. We come in, we now take over that burden from the family. It means that the family has more disposable income to focus on also feeding themselves. This, you may think, is remote. It is direct, because savings there, because the school fees are now taken over by government, that money now you can buy food, you can buy 1 or 2 things in your small business. I'm just drawing some direct aspects of subsidy. But I must also say, the Minister of Finance, I'll call him at some stage, that we have also realigned the 2024 budget to take out, Darius, what we believe is non-essential expenditure. And those savings from there will be directed more in households, stability income, into small businesses to enhance the amounts that we allocate for those sectors, including vulnerable families. I think that's important. I won't get the Minister of Finance to stand up now, because you'll have to cover 1 or 2 other things. Let me go through it. Minister of Finance, you can pack that if you want to add other things. But also, Darius, let me say, colleagues that are seated here, if you feel there's a suggestion you can make, I already made the core area. Please forward that suggestion so we can look at your suggestion and see how it can help. We've been looking at what countries before us did in times of crisis, and we're picking a few lessons. Some of them, you see them come through the amended budget. I think Parliament opens. The budget is next week. The amended budget will go to Parliament to ensure that we've met the legal requirements for amending the budgets to shift resources, as I said, to where they're most needed, away from where it's less important. Now, someone shouldn't write, so you budgeted wrongly. That's not the issue. It's not the issue. The budget was done before the drought. The budget was done in October last year, before we knew whether there would be a drought or not. I want to curtail lines of communication or media that take a different life away from what we're discussing here. ZNB's Justin, ZNBC strong on corruption, some culprits rush to traditional leaders and the church. How do we deal with this? How do we work with the church? The traditional leaders, Justin, Levy, tell me, was it last week or 10 days ago we brought here, we had a meeting right here in the cabinet room behind where you are with 5 chiefs, from each of the 10 provinces. That led us to 50 chiefs, traditional leaders, who represent chiefs in each province. The chiefs have a structure that in Muchinga, XYZ represent the chiefs in Muchinga. Out of all of them, these 5, some are in the House of Chiefs. So we met here and discussed working together on this drought, feeding people, but also on increasing resilience, where we even say to the chiefs now, every chief must produce food. Imfumo, to lead the way. And I can tell you, Justin, I'm a farmer, but a cattle farmer. But because of this situation, I've decided to move some of the money, capital from cattle, sell off the cattle, maybe 2,000-3,000, put that money into crop to produce more food. Right? That's what I'm doing. I am not going to the banks. I want to leave the banks for others who need the banks. So me, I'm just shifting capital from here to there, and I'll be irrigating Bamwewa for the first time. I'll be producing 2 crops a year. I hope to hit 400 hectares of irrigation this year to lead the way. To lead the way. to provide leadership from the front. So we say to the chiefs, these chiefs, let him produce enough food for your family, because the subjects must see that the chief is leading, not from behind, but from the front. What else do we discuss? Exactly this issue. It's like you knew. Anyway, you work for ZNBC, maybe you heard. We raised this issue that, one, we must unite our country. 10 provinces, all of them, without exception. All of them. Under this leadership, no inch of Zambia will be allowed to be on its own. We're a unitary state. We have to work towards development and redistributing equitably the development. And I said to the chiefs, we should not entertain divisive talk. What else? We should not support corruption. And I reminded them, because we are now able to save money, even before we had the debt restructuring, we are able to build their palaces. In the next 2 years, every chief will have a decent home. Proper housing. I launched that at Chief Chimensa in Mansa. You saw me. And that house is coming up very well now. I'm monitoring, checking. That money came from our prudence and the push against corruption. And we said to them they needed to support us. When we, the subjects, go to the chiefs to say they're persecuting me because I'm from your chiefdom, I said to the chiefs, ask them to say, Ushe, munatenga vabene? Why are they pursuing you, only you? Munatenga vinji vabene? What did you take that doesn't belong to you? Tell me, my subject, secretly tell me. I was saying it in the cabinet. And ask them, did you take something? If you took something, did you bring it here for us to share as your chiefs? Or you shared with other of your colleagues? And we resolved, to cut a story short, Justin, we resolved that the chiefs will support a fight against corruption. Levy was there, my political advisor. We also have been talking to the church. I said last week I was having a meeting with the Pastors Fellowship on the Copperbelt. Some of you watched it. And we raised the same issue. Whichever bishop, those who take money from the poor citizens, do they bring it to the church to share as tithe or what? Whichever I told you, Pia kuno. Atawe mkwai. So why should you now be involved? We agreed, and I will continue the meeting with the chiefs as I go into provinces. I will continue the meetings with the churches. That's my answer, sir. We must abhor corruption. We must not tolerate people running to people they never even respected in the first place when they were in public office. That is the truth. That's not the way we should work. Franklin, energy provision, it is erratic. I already said it, Franklin. Because we are highly hydro-based in terms of electricity, when there's a drought, immediately you see the impact on energy. I said it. So the issue of instability, erratic supply of energy is a given. The question is that how do we respond? I think that's the question. We are responding by increasing the energy mix, solar. We could have done better. I'm the first one to accept. But we're pushing. I don't know, Minister of Finance, whether you have secured the debt with pension funds. I asked the Minister, very good. I asked the Minister of Finance, this Minister of Finance yesterday, I directed him that he and I and other experts want to meet in this cabinet room all the pension funds in this country, public and private, and banks. We will discuss here to ask them to put money, pension money they have, more in the energy sector, so that we can generate other energy sources which are not dependent on the rain. Franklin, are we together? That's one band. So we increase the generation. As I said to you that God was slapping us to say, wake up. You've been lazy. You, a country called Zambia, you, my children, have been lazy. You have not been generating enough electricity. You have not been harvesting water. Wake up. We take God's call and wake up call seriously. What else are we doing? We're working again. We're meeting Friday. Energy Minister is here to work on a number of things to operationalize quickly what we call open access, right? So anyone who produces power, uses some, releases some excess, we should buy through the system automatically. Open access. If you're generating in Kabwe and the power is needed in Livingstone, it will run on the network that exists. We are allowing that to happen. That network is an asset that belongs to the nation, the economy. We just work out commercial issues, tariffs, for example, wheeling charges, to be specific. What else are we doing? Net metering. This Friday, I said to this Minister of Energy that Friday we are meeting to conclude. We don't want bureaucracy. I'm pronouncing it deliberately. Not that I don't know how to pronounce it. Bureaucracy. Bureaucracy, where things don't get done. That's what I meant by people thinking that they are working because they went to office 8 hours and they were in the office without delivery. We don't want that bureaucracy. We want delivery. Friday, to push the net metering. What does that do? It will encourage any one of us who is capable of putting a solar system on their rooftop. They use the power that they generate. I don't know how many kilowatts. Then the excess will be automatically sold to the grid. And Mr. Y or Mrs. X, you earn some revenue. But someone else who needs the power uses it. Currently, for example, at my house, I generate more power than I need on the solar. But I can't put it in the grid. The system doesn't allow. Friday, we are unlocking that. What that will do, it will put more power from certain sources, which is in excess, into the system. And then we can release the more industrial power called base load for irrigation, for mines, for factories. Minister of Finance is here. We also want to check again all taxes on solar-related storage. Based on the numbers, he will advise, we will advise. We want to further reduce those if it's possible. But we have almost done that already. But one of the things that is lacking, Franklin, we're not communicating properly. Where's Franklin? We're not communicating. So we need ZNBC. Let's work together so that we can communicate these packages, where one can buy them, how much they cost, and he or she who can fix them on the rooftops or wherever. This is part of the package. We want to utilize your skills as communication experts. And when people have the information, they will respond positively. I'm confident about it. I've told Cabinet yesterday that all of us in Cabinet, I'm leading the way. Whoever has a property, they must put solar, release that energy to someone else who cannot afford to put solar. So is industry. So is, I think, government offices, or government offices, all of them, so that we can release that energy that is there to others. So these are measures we are taking, frankly. But the question of erratic supply is a given. What we thought was good, that we were green in terms of energy, you know what I mean? That we are basically environmentally correct, it has now become a problem on us. We were actually being praised across Africa that Zambia is already 90+% green energy. Drought comes, gone. Just like that. Another slap. Wake-up call. So let's work together to package information, to make citizens aware that there are solutions, then to lower the cost of those. That to inject area, one of you asked about the cost of doing business. Those are some of the areas. Thank you. I will ask the Minister of Finance to just comment, if you wish, on some of the issues on incentives and also anything else you feel our public here and through the media in the country and in the world. Because as we speak now, the world is watching technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me confine my remarks to the issue of the high cost of living, which is a very broad issue among most of our citizens. His Excellency the President responded on some of the measures that are in place, and my colleague also responded with some of the measures taken to support the micro enterprises. Let me focus on those who are not necessarily micro entrepreneurs, but they have no job. They live in the rural areas, they live in the urban areas, and the drought has hit them because they were farmers, they've lost everything, that is if in the rural areas. In the urban areas, the price of food, maize, has gone up. What happens? The first thing that I want to say is that this government took the deliberate decision to increase the price of maize because in the absence of that, we saw that farmers were getting less and less interested in growing maize. They were going for soybeans. So the government made that deliberate decision to incentivize the farmers. That has contributed to the higher price of maize. So what is the answer now? For those who have no jobs, for those who are struggling, is the answer to push the price of maize back? The answer is, of course, no, because we'll be shooting ourselves in the feet. So one of the issues that Cabinet has discussed is Public Works Program. Public Works Program. Because if people are not able to afford food, the answer is not necessarily to push down the prices of maize and hurt the farmers, but part of the answer is, can you do something to empower those who have no incomes or little incomes, for them to do some kind of work for the public where they will earn money, and because now they've earned money, they can be able to buy food for themselves. This is something that has happened in many countries. Here in Africa, Ethiopia has done that before for a number of years when they had a drought. So one of the schemes that Cabinet Office is working on is this Public Works Program. How is it going to be administered? So Public Works Program, to give you examples, here in town, we all complain about Lusaka being dirty. Can we hire youths on a regular basis to clear the town of the debris, to clear the drainages, so that when the next rainy season comes, we don't talk about cholera because we've cleared the city. In the rural areas, there are many places where small bridges are required. You can hire the youths whose crops is gone. Come, this bridge, build a bridge for yourself. You get paid. With that money, you are going to buy food. There are places which are suffering from deforestation, maybe again in rural areas. Call the able-bodied people, come, let's plant trees, you get paid, you go and buy food. So public works program is something that we are going to push so that colleagues who don't have jobs or whose incomes are unstable or very low can be empowered to be able to do useful work for society, get paid, and then, even though the price of minimum has gone up, but because you've been paid, you should be able to afford to buy some maize. I thought I should clarify on that particular strategy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We'll take the last three questions. The last three questions. We'll start with you here.
There's no ladies.
Are you from ZNBC? No, ZNBC, we had two questions here earlier on. I'm looking for, there's a lady there, yes. Anyone from News Diggers? Yes. And Prime TV? Yes, you can come through.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Sarah Miti. I'm from Zanis. So you've answered part of my question, and it's concerning the energy deficit, and you've answered it quite well. But my question is on what you are going to do as government to ensure that that zero tax that you have introduced for providers of these alternative sources of energy is actually being trickled down to the consumers. Because ironically, the cost of purchase for these alternative sources of energy has gone up. So trying to understand what is really causing that, how are we going to ensure that the consumers, apart from just the SMEs, even just individuals, are able to afford this? Because unfortunately, Mr. President, most of the people are going for charcoal as the cheapest source of energy for cooking. And it's going against your commitments, Mr. President, to the international community that we're going to ensure that we prevent or reduce on deforestation. Because currently Zambia, it has got one of the highest rates of deforestation. So it's like we're pulling in two different directions. That's my simple question, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon. Yes, my name is Ulandenko Mesha from News Diggers newspaper. Sorry, the mic is kind of short. News Diggers newspaper. And most of the questions I think have been asked, but I'll go for a political one. Recently, we have seen the former head of state has gone on international media to say that he's under house arrest and that the government is actually peeling his family like onions. And he says that he can't even campaign, he can't even go out. Maybe my question is that his comments genuine? And we've also seen that Oasis Forum have come on board to say, to give the comment on the matter. But my question maybe would be, are his comments genuine in terms of him saying he's under house arrest and his freedoms are being gagged? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon. My name is Matthews Ndandula from Prime TV. Mine is on the education sector. Your Excellency, your government has been seen giving scholarship to the students at higher institutions. But now, I want to dwell on measures, if the government has measures that has been put in place to make sure that it clears the backlog of unpaid terminal benefits for some of the lecturers at the higher institutions, e.g. is the University of Zambia. Thank you.
Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, colleagues, for your questions. Sarah, Zani's cost of alternative sources of energy have gone up despite the tax waivers. And therefore, people are moving to charcoal, which in itself is destructive. Very good question you have asked. I think the issue now is to check. We need to engage those that are involved in the business of alternative energy, such as solar. I think that's what you're talking about primarily. We know what the prices were before the taxes were removed. So we now need to sit down with them that why have they not dropped the prices? There could be other reasons we don't know, but it could be also opportunism to make more money because they now know that there's need for, if you like, for more of these sources of energy. And we will establish what the reason is. Definitely colleagues are here, Cabinet Office, State House, ministers. We have to engage those colleagues. What is the issue? Because the relief is supposed to go to the intended beneficiaries, who are the consumers, the people who buy those applications or sources of energy. So good point. This is also a matter that we were grappling with. The price of milling. Millers get milling at a fair price from FRA, but they were still selling the milling at a higher price. That's why we have now pushed more of ZNS, more of correctional services, but we've also reached out. We called them for meetings, exactly what you're saying, what the issue is or was, and we have been able to get more millers across the country to join in with what we called allied millers. Very innovative. We are not communicating, colleagues. I think, Franklin, you are right. Because if we were communicating such information to the nation, we now have more allied millers, some of whom are producing meal under the ZNS Eagle brand, but actually it's not ZNS, but they are working with ZNS. We provide them with the raw material, which is maize. And that's why we are working to secure more maize. Why have I used that example? It is similar. It is similar, Sarah, to what is happening in that space. So log in an action point there to meet all those dealers, at least established dealers, and have a conversation. We want to see a price reduction. What else has pushed the price? Ceteris paribus, other things being equal, we expect the price to come down. So thank you for that observation. And I want to encourage citizens, any other citizen, do what Sarah has just done so that we can now interrogate those issues. The charcoal issue is not an option because it will further exacerbate the climate damage. I'm not sure whether charcoal is cheaper. Again, we have to interrogate that. Frankly speaking, there are options coming for cooking now. Gas, more efficient stoves, Sarah, using minimum energy, but higher efficiency, cooks quicker. We need the cooperation of the public. In fact, there are institutions that are even giving free stoves, isn't it? Cylinders and gas and stoves which are more efficient. I think colleagues, ministers, cabinet, PSCs, all of us, we need to take that as a guidance note to engage those as well so that we can promote market alternative cooking methods and save our carbon assets. carbon sinking assets, such as our forests. Part of the challenge we have with the rain pattern is goes where deforest, basically we're cutting trees rampantly. As you know, trees help you in the ecosystem to stabilize the rains. So thank you for those comments. Colleagues, I'm expecting an action list being written here. Everything the President commits to be doing, Secretary to Cabinet, must be written in there. That's what I call working, not hanging around. Don't hang around in this press briefing. Let's work. Then we pick out work out of here. Next, news diggers. Friend of mine, ours, former president is under house arrest. His freedoms are being gagged. As you have seen over time, that I resist the temptation to answer to what the 6th Republican President of Zambia has been saying, including where he retires from politics, I think on the 26th of August or thereabout, 2021, and once he retires, he's entitled, according to the law, benefits. The law I didn't make, but the law is mine and yours because it was made by us, Parliament, of that time. In fact, that was made, was it before his time or during his time? Before his time. Even him didn't make that law. But we don't make laws for ourselves. Laws apply for every citizen. The law is very clear. Former President's Emolument Benefit. Former President's Benefit Act is there. He retires, automatically he gets his benefits. Then he decides to come back in politics. The law is clear again. When you decide to come back in politics, you lose your benefits. Are we together? Instantaneously, you don't even need to invoke any motivation. You lose your benefits. That's the law. He's a lawyer. I won't comment whether he's a top-notch lawyer or not. That's not my business. I have my own opinion. And the facts are there, right? Sometimes we must be careful with what we say, right? Because the public have the information and how we conducted ourselves when we did anything. So, as a lawyer, he knows the law is explicit, very clear. You come back to politics, you lose your benefits. What does my brother do? He goes to court. Out of his own volition, the law is invoked, he goes to court and says he's being persecuted because his benefits are not there. And he will communicate to BBC, CNN, but the facts are different. But when he was asked the other day, before he said, people reminded him, you lose your benefits if you do this. I don't care about the benefits. The benefits disappear by law. He starts asking for benefits, he's in court. Now, has this happened before? Yes. Which president? President Hakainde. Did that in accordance with the law, he lost the benefits when he went back to politics. When he finally retired, the law again is clear. He got his benefits. It's not an argument. It's a law. I just wanted to clarify that. But it's not for me to spend time on these issues. He's a citizen of Zambia. He knows the law. As to whether he's under house arrest, I don't know. I'm not aware. Let me just ask a question. When was that J.J. Banda? Something happened after he claimed that he was under house arrest. Then the following day, he freely took himself to a police station or to a court, I think, to escort somebody. To a police station. To report the disappearance of J.J. Banda. Now, somebody under arrest, you can't leave the house. There you are. The taste of the pudding is in the eating. Who is fooling who? It's there. Some of these things, we shouldn't get into those discussions. We really should have self-restraint. On your own, you say, I'm a mature man, I'm almost 70, I've been around, I can't mislead the nation. Right? Then, harassment. What harassment? Truthfully, if I was like him, he would have known what harassment means. Because he harassed me day and night. He's there. He locked me up 15 times. He put me under the death row for a crime I did not commit. When I took office, I said, I don't want to do what he did to me. If I do what he did to me, then I'm not different from him. I stand by that position up to today. But you cannot use the former president's status to go out and break the law, because you are not covered by that immunity. Please, those who are asking for immunity, this is not an issue. Leave his immunity. He continues breaking the law, soon he will be arrested. Simple. It's as simple as that. Ubufumu buchitashani? Enditamkwe. We must be self-respecting for the community to respect us. That's what it means. But really, this is not my focus. I have a lot of work to do. I do take note of what he says, but I choose to ignore him. That's who I am. I hear a lot of things. Even what you guys exchange on your private platforms, I plant a few people here and there to say, what's going on that platform? Okay, check this one. I check. Sometimes I laugh and say, but these Zambians, what are they saying here now? You know, one must be big enough, to have a chest big enough to isolate that this is where my effort must be. Zambians are hungry because of the drought. That's where my interest is. To irrigate, that's where my interest is. Sarah's comment to win up people from Chaco, that's where my interest is. To have a fair price of solar, that's where my interest is. To have the debt restructured, let me tell you, sleepless nights. This minister, the economic team, this president, many other people, sleepless nights. You must start observing your fellow citizens. When we set our eyes on something, it's difficult, it will take long. God's help, it shall be done. Here we are. We called it Mission Impossible. Here we are. We are the first one in the world to achieve the restructuring. We found many countries in the queue. We jumped. Not because we corrupted somebody, just hard work. Now Zambia is a guinea pig. You know what a guinea pig is? Don't say that, don't write that Zambia says Zambia is a pig. No. A guinea pig in science means a trial, you know, a test tube exercise. A pig you use to test if you did this, what would be the reaction? So we are now the test country. For once, we should be proud of ourselves and that there was hard work behind this. That's where my mind is. People were saying, oh, UPND has bungled the relationship with China. I said, Pembera first. Just wait. Things are done properly, in an organized way. I know Zambians are not used to that because of the leaders. Some of the leaders we've had were haphazard. Things must be done in an organized way, properly. Sometimes sequentially, sometimes simultaneously, at the same time. That's order which delivers success. Takes longer sometimes. It's very complicated. I'm a transactions man myself. Most of you don't know. My private business life, what I used to do included transactions. Putting transactions together, getting a buyer, a seller, getting an investor, and putting them together. If I gave you a list of the things we did, even in our early years, many of you don't know, but you will be surprised. This was a very complicated transaction. Too many players, politics in it, East, West. You go to Beijing, the West says, no, you are against us. You go to Washington, the East says, no, are you with us or you are with Washington? Until I said, if I'm in Washington, I'm not against Beijing. I'm sure you remember that. If I'm in Beijing, I'm not against Washington. We went through a lot of challenges, but we thank the global network of colleagues who believed in us, and you, and your patience. First, you're electing us into office, then your patience. And we ask you to remain patient. If there was a shorter route, we would have used the shorter route on all these things that we face. So I believe that answers that question of someone's freedom. He's a citizen. He has rights, but there are also obligations. If you go in the market, you start instigating those marketeers, some were PF, some were UPND, who were fighting before, and now we've cooled them down. Then you go in the market and instigate them to start fighting again. Then you shouldn't go in that market, because you are creating trouble now. You become a source of trouble now, right? We watch, we follow. You are there encouraging the youth to fight. Where's your responsibility? Rights, one side, the flip side, obligations. Rights on one side, flip side, limits. That's how it works. Please, fellow Zambians, when there's an issue like this, follow it and you make your judgment where the problem is. The problem is very clear where it's coming from. So, BBC stories are written. I said, now, what is being talked about here? One capital asked me, I said, you arrested your colleague. HH, you promised you will not arrest him. I said, my promise remains. We don't arrest innocent people. We only arrest people who have committed crimes. The law arrests them, not me. So I said, no, but your colleague said you arrested him. I said, when? He said, about 3-4 days ago. But I said, but yesterday he was walking in town. How is it that a man in detention was walking in town? Even illegally, right? You can't run a procession without notifying the police. Did he get arrested? No. Why? Restraint, maturity. Maturity. That's the issue. So I've decided to answer comment for the first time, and you will not hear me commenting on it. But all I can say to you, when you rise to this level, you have bigger obligations to keep the country safe and peaceful. Don't stroke trouble. Don't continue stroking trouble. When you get it, you complain. Because soon the law says you can't go beyond this. That's the truth. And let me remind you, please, MPs, when I leave office, when Zambians decide that I must do something else, I will not commit crimes and hide behind the presidents I occupied. A favor, a rare favor from the people of Zambia with God's wish. I will not go out committing crimes and then cry that I need protection. I will not have that protection. That's the truth. So really, why mess up a country? There's a drought, there's this, then you are stroking trouble, you are inviting, hey, come, I'm here. Then you are a coward. If you don't follow me, you are a coward. Matthews terminal benefits for lecturers, genuine point. Where's Matthews? Genuine point. If you remember one of the things we did, please take a seat. We committed to clearing benefits, retirement benefits, of those that worked in government direct. There's a slight difference. There's a direct government, correct me, Secretary of Cabinet, and quasi-government. I think the university is a quasi-government. Am I right? So the first thing we did was those who worked for direct government to clear their benefits. The minister is here. We've done well. Many people say, oh, this New Dawn government has failed. Give us a scale of 10 over a 5-year period, what we said we'll do and where you are. You will find that we've actually already passed the test. We're probably on 7 out of 10. So we're working on the remaining. But on the terminal benefits, we have paid those who worked for government directly. The minister is here. And we're almost current now? We are current. 3 months, no more 20 years. People were sleeping. Zambians forget, eh? Have you forgotten? People were sleeping here at the ministries, even having overnight prayers. Do you see them there now? They've been paid. Delivery, in accordance to the commitment. So we will look into those matters. Very fair matters. But I'm glad you acknowledge that, you know, yesterday I got a surprise. Students, I see a posting, students were celebrating HH's birthday. They said, who is this? Whose birthday are they celebrating? I'm a villager, so, you know, I don't pay too much attention. But I was really humbled that students were able to recognize the work this government has done in the last 2 years, 9 months, to restore meal allowances. It's a big issue. Now kids who were leaving school are in school, they have food. More bursaries, more student loans, more secondary school bursaries at the constituency. Education is the best investment. I'm an example, but I want to make others be even better than me. I came from the village. I knew no one in Lusaka. I only came to the University of Zambia. Knew no one. I learned the things in town because I came into university. Because there was a policy of free education. That's why we restored free education when we came in. To give that investment to that child from Chama, from Kaputa, from Kambombo, from Kashinagash. I know I was going to say Kashinagash. What a great thing. You know, when we employ these young nurses and teachers, they post that this government is different. Before I used to apply, 5 years I graduated to be a teacher somewhere. I couldn't get a job because they used to ask me for kasamfing. That's the first time I heard about the expression of kasamfing. So I said, what does it? It says, under that PF, we had to pay money in order to be considered for a job. But when this government came in, I'm a child of Kawambwa. I graduated 5 years ago. I applied. I know nobody in Lusaka. I've now been employed. What a joy. What a joy. There you are. It's a different scenario. So we will look into that, Matthews. We need to grow the economy. We need to expand the economy. We need to create more revenues to support. I don't want to waste your time. We inherited a lot of debt, not just this we've been negotiating, just the fuel bill. Minister, how much did we? PF were buying fuel and not paying. They left us a bill of how much? 800 million. $800 million, which they were drawing fuel and didn't pay for it. We are now dismantling that. They left a lot of suppliers, including those who supplied air. They never paid them. We are now dismantling that debt. Colleagues, running a country is not a joke. And if you continue playing easy in electing leaders and put them in office, you will regret worse than the mess we have now. We must work as one people, common interests, interest of the country, irrespective of where you were born, your mother, your father, the language you speak. I mentioned it already earlier. We must have a common ground, intersection. That is the interest of the people of Zambia. When we do that, our own interests will be taken care of. That's how it works, because our interests are a subset of the national interest. I say that because we inherited a lot of debt beyond what we've negotiated, and we're dismantling it. These are the pressures. And people say, oh, that money was borrowed, which led us to a debt crisis. You want to continue doing that? No. Then you are making children who are not yet born to suffer for crimes they did not commit. Once we're through with the cleaning up, for me, I see where we are going. I picture this country 7 years from now, 10 years from now, totally different country. Totally different country. You want an example? When we came in, the mining sector had collapsed, completely collapsed. Mopani, down. There is an MP for Kankoyo, Nimufrila. Avena Kankoyo. Avena Kopala, Malaysian. Hey, yeah. Masera vya KCM. Kalia wangu. Wangu tashe. So, Mopani was down. KCM was messed up. Just to give you an example, Mopani, our previous colleagues, worked up a debt of $1.7 billion. Just like that, like a game. We come in, we struggle, we reduce that debt to $500 million. We save $1.2 billion on Mopani. Now, already the projected production is up. Mopani had slid down to 70,000 metric tons or less. 60? 67,000 metric tons. Went down from 220. Now, within a short time, we'll be pushing it to 230. Huh? Correct me? Huh? 230,000 metric tons. That is work now. That's not hanging around. That's work. KCM, we worked so hard. Another mess. KCM will be back. We've got the key stages now in place. Class 1 of the creditors approved the scheme of arrangement. Class 2 approved the scheme of arrangement. Average 97% approval. What we needed was only 75%. That's work now. That's not hanging around. And we're in the last lap. And KCM will be back. A mine that was gone, Luansha, 20 years plus, was in the graveyard. That's what Abena Kopala now says. They say, oh, we were church, tuwali mufantamo nomba atampoku womba. Tuwali mufantamo. Because alebu shefintu fili kumanda. Alebu esha. That was the message they were giving last week, only last week. I was in Luansha. 28 shaft, dewatering we've started. We've already started employing people. When we're through with that, 3,000 new jobs in Luansha. Luansha was dead. Is that work? Or is hanging around? That's work. So the copper belt will be back. Mingomba project, largest deposit. That's a project we initiated since we came into office. And now it's on the ground. They're employing people already. Even suppliers were being employed at, what's that show? Caminex. I was at a show last week. Can you believe? Now the mines, Mopani is seated there. Mingomba is seated there. They have their IT gadgets. They are registering suppliers, Zambian suppliers. You've never seen it like that. Openly, transparently. So you ask me, will Copper Belt be different? Yes. How far from now? We've already started seeing the benefits. Jobs, quality, all of that stuff. So Copper Belt is moving. We move other areas. So I see where we will be. I can see it with my eyes. I invite you to see it as well. But your patience is important. Your support is important. Ooh. What's the time now? Huh? 17. Colleagues, I have a call with President Ramaphosa. Exactly 17 hours. I seek your indulgence to allow me to take the call. The ministers can finish off. I think if there are questions, other questions, there are other ministers who may want to say one or two things.